The night highway was almost empty, a thin ribbon of asphalt cutting through the quiet outskirts of the town. The street lamps flickered, casting long shadows across the road where two patrol officers waited inside their cruiser, bored and ready for their shift to end. Officer Daniels glanced at the clock on the dash, 1:07 a.m. Another slow night. Officer Ramirez sipped burnt coffee, scrolling through old messages on his phone. Then the old truck appeared. It rattled into view like a ghost from another decade, its faded green paint chipped and worn, headlights dimmer than regulation allowed. The muffler coughed louder than the engine. Ramirez squinted. That thing shouldn't even be on the road, he muttered. Daniels nodded. Tag it. Let's wrap up the shift with something easy. They pulled out behind it. The truck swerved slightly, enough to raise suspicion, and the officers exchanged a glance. Daniels hit the lights. The truck slowed, taking its time before rolling to a stop on the gravel shoulder. A moment passed. The officers stepped out, flashlights on. Driver, stay inside the vehicle. Daniels called, hand on his holster. The door opened anyway. An older man stepped out, late 60s, maybe early 70s. Tall, broad-shouldered despite his age, wearing an old bomber jacket with no patches, no markings. His face was lined, his eyes sharp and steady. He didn't look confused or scared. He looked like someone who had decided long ago never to be afraid of anything again. Evening, officers, he said calmly. Sir, we asked you to remain in the vehicle, Ramirez said, his tone firm. The man shrugged. Couldn't hear you over the engine. She's louder than she used to be. Daniels approached cautiously. License and registration. The old man handed them over without a word. The name on the license read, Michael Rowan. Address, a rural property about 15 miles out. Do you know why we stopped you tonight? Daniels asked. Rowan looked at the truck and smiled faintly. Because she's old and ugly, same as me. That, and you were swerving, Ramirez added. Pothole, Rowan said simply. Your county hasn't fixed them in years. The officers shared a look. The man didn't seem intoxicated, the opposite, actually. He was steady, clear, composed. Too composed. Daniels asked, have you had anything to drink tonight? Nothing but peppermint tea, Rowan answered. Step to the front of the vehicle, sir. Rowan sighed but obeyed. The officers ran the plates. Clean. No warrants. Nothing unusual, except a note in the internal system. Military clearance level, restricted details. Ramirez frowned. Why would a civilian have? A sudden crackle came over their radio. Unit 12, do you have a Michael Rowan detained? The officers froze. A voice they didn't recognize spoke, calm, authoritative, and not local dispatch. Confirm immediately. Daniels hesitated before responding. Yes, we have a traffic stop involving. Before he finished, the voice interrupted. Release him. Maintain position. Do not leave the scene. The radio went dead. Ramirez stared. What the hell was that? Daniels swallowed. Sir, Mr. Rowan, why is someone monitoring local radio for your name? Rowan took a slow breath. Because people tend to overreact about things that don't concern them. What things? Ramirez pressed. Rowan didn't answer. He simply leaned against the truck as if he'd stood on 100 roadsides like this and knew exactly what was coming. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The officers shifted anxiously, watching the empty road. And then the SUVs arrived. 4 of them, sleek black Suburbans with tinted windows, rolled up silently, engines humming like a coordinated heartbeat. They surrounded the scene in a smooth, practiced formation. No sirens. No hesitation. Ramirez whispered, this is federal. Has to be. The first SUV's door opened. A man stepped out, tall, wearing a dark overcoat, metals gleaming faintly under the headlights. His rank insignia caught the light. 4 stars. A full general. The officers stiffened instinctively. Ramirez's mouth went dry. Daniels felt his stomach sink as he snapped to attention without meaning to. General Hawthorne, one of the most recognizable figures in the armed forces, strode toward them. The air around him felt heavier, as though his presence carried its own gravity. He didn't look at the officers first. He went straight to Rowan. Sir, the general said, voice respectful, not commanding, respectful. We would have preferred you informed us you were leaving base. Rowan smirked. It's not your base. It's a training facility. And I was only visiting. It's still a matter of protocol. You know how I feel about unnecessary protocol. The general exhaled, but there was something in his expression, admiration, frustration, loyalty. All tangled together. Only then did he face the stunned officers. "Which one of you initiated the stop?" he asked. Daniels raised a timid hand. "I did, sir." "You suspect him of anything?" "No, sir. Just traffic violations." The general nodded slowly. "For future reference, Mr. Rowan here is one of the most decorated strategists alive. When he retired, 3 branches tried to ignore the paperwork so he couldn't leave." Rowan chuckled. "They like exaggerating." "No exaggeration," Hawthorne said firmly. "You're a legend, sir." Ramirez blinked, realization dawning. "Strategist Rowan. The one from—" "Doesn't matter," Rowan interrupted. "I'm just an old man trying to drive home." But the general wasn't finished. "To you officers," Hawthorne said, his tone softening, "you didn't do anything wrong. In fact, you followed procedure perfectly. But Mr. Rowan has privileges. When his name appears, certain agencies are alerted." Rowan rolled his eyes. "Which is ridiculous." "Necessary," Hawthorne corrected. Daniels swallowed hard. "Sir, we didn't mean to cause trouble." Rowan stepped closer, placing a hand on each officer's shoulder. His grip was firm, reassuring. "You caused no trouble," he said gently. "You're doing your job. And do it well. Don't let anyone, government or otherwise, make you feel you overstepped." The general actually smiled at that. "May I escort you home, sir?" he asked Rowan. "No," Rowan said, climbing back into the old truck. "These 2 already checked my paperwork. I'm cleared." The general nodded respectfully. "Then we'll follow at a distance." Rowan turned to the officers once more. "Good night, gentlemen." The engine sputtered to life, coughing like an aging dragon, and the truck rolled back onto the road. The SUVs followed, forming a protective convoy behind it. The officers remained frozen until the last vehicle disappeared into the darkness. Ramirez finally whispered, "We stopped a ghost." Daniels exhaled shakily. "No. We stopped someone the world salutes, and we didn't even know." They climbed back into their cruiser, neither saying anything for a long moment. Then Ramirez muttered, "Next time I want an easy stop, remind me to shut up." Daniels nodded. "Yeah, me too." The cruiser pulled away slowly, the night feeling different now, strangely heavier, strangely humbling. Some people drove old trucks. Some people carried entire histories inside them. And sometimes, the 2 were the same.